All right, folks, I wanted to point out a couple interesting studies around the possible causes of obesity. And I know, many people say, well, just eating more calories, and that's the case. Well, interesting, there was a nice study in 2022 published by Dr. Darius Mozaffarian looking at the consumption of calories over the last 20 or so years. Up from 1960 until about 2000, we steadily ate around 800 calories extra per person per day, which certainly would explain some of the obesity rates. But since 2000 for the last 20 years or so, the rates of calorie consumption has been pretty flat. You can see in this chart here, the top line is the FAO food production availability estimate. The middle line is the obesity rate, which goes from about 30% over to 42%. And then the bottom line is the NHANES data estimating how much food people are consuming. Now, you may say these are estimates, there's errors, but generally those errors will be consistent over the years. And so people that are making the same errors in 2000 will continue to make those same errors in 2020. At least presumably that's the case. So the thought was, as I mentioned in the other video the other day, that maybe the increased consumption or percentage consumption of ultra-processed food with its acellular, highly powderized, highly absorptive characteristics change the absorption pattern in the food. Now, the other study, which I think is quite interesting, is a study looking at total energy expenditure. Now, a lot of people say we're more sedentary, we don't spend as many calories. Well, the reality is that in part that's true, but it's not due to decreasing activity so much. In fact, this study here seems to show that, but it shows that what is going on is our basal metabolic rate, or basal energy expenditure, has actually gone down. So that is, we actually burn less calories when we're still, when we're laying there, when we're breathing, our heart's beating, we're generating body heat. That number has gone down as well, whereas the activity number has not changed quite as much, at least over the last 50 years or so. And interestingly, this is an interesting thing that they noted within that study. They state that it is very plausible, based on animal studies and some of the human data that they've seen, that the reduction in saturated fat consumption is potentially responsible for that decrease in basal metabolic rate, which is quite interesting. We clearly have, consumed less of our calories from animal fats. Those numbers are undeniable, and more of those have come from these refined oils. That's undeniable that's occurred. And the thought is that not the increase in the oils, but the reduction in the saturated fats is slowed down our metabolic rate, which is something interesting to think about. So combination, more ultra-processed food. Again, what's in ultra-processed foods? Well, less saturated fat, more polyunsaturated fat, lots of powder, basically sugars, flours, things of that nature. And the combination of those things could be contributing to our increased obesity rate. What happens when you cut those things out? Well, we see when you cut out ultra-processed foods, when you consume more animal fats, i.e. people on a carnivore diet, generally we see them lose weight, right? So something to think about. Let me know what you guys think. Talk to you soon.